So, you guys, have you been here before?
No.
What do you think of the place?
It's really interesting. Ooh. It's like there's a shop in Seattle, the Curiosity Shop. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
I've been there, and this is a lot like it. It's really interesting. It's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
Asking what it was for.
Yeah, what's it?
The lady.
Well,
I'm just going to put up on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Are you guys comfortable with that?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be famous.
Yay, on YouTube.
Dude, your first TV skinny thing.
That's so cool.
Aww. Yell when you need me, Joe, sir.
Yes, I will.
Okay, I gotta check the hearse. Because I have a tension rod in there gluing a piece of stuff. Give me 1 second, and Ken is right here. But you should ask me questions for Ken, because I'm a better answerer of questions. Because if I don't know the answer, I'll just make it up.
Okay, good enough.
And it's better.
Sounds good to me. So, Beth, everything in the store is for sale, correct?
Yes. Yes. With the exception of one photo album of my family.
I gotcha.
Yes.
Now, who does these paintings?
So this is the work of Emmy Boss. She does these cute little bright, vibrant rainbow things you see here, in which she has a kitty cat farting rainbows. I love her work.
It is interesting.
Yes, and her inspiration is Officer Duck. She'll explain that at some point.
Cool. So, Ken, I understand there's a bit of history about this building. Can you elaborate on it, please?
Yeah, my family was one of the first families to move into Larding. We built this building in 1911. It started out as one room shack, and then little by little pieces were added on. Over the years, 7 members of my family passed away inside. They've done some EVP and some ghost hunting stuff, and had some interesting results.
Well, this used to be a barber shop, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, this area was the barber shop. The back room, that was the actual living room to for the house. And then next door used to be a candy shop and sundries, cigarettes, newspapers, that sort of thing.
Well, wasn't this a barber shop until about 10 years ago or so?
Oh, no. The barber just retired about a year and a half ago. That was barber. That was my uncle's good friend. My uncle cut hair here from 1936 to 1990. 98, 99.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Thank you.
For the Oddiporium, it was mainly things that are unusual, and Ken and I, growing up living just a couple of houses away from each other, we were the first ones to poke a dead animal with a stick. Unusual creatures. Ken's been urban exploring, which is sneaking into abandoned buildings, since he was probably 8 years old, I believe. And 8 years old. He got me addicted to it, and then the unusual things that come with that. Just, I find it fascinating when he introduced me to the world of post-mortem death photos, things of that nature. Victorian era mourning, the way that they would mourn was a lot more open than today. It's more ritualistic. In Victorian era, they had lacrimy bottles where their tears would shed into the bottles. It would evaporate, leave salt. I'm going off on a tangent, but there's just so many things in our culture that are forgotten. Like, we do demolition photography. One of the places that we were fortunate enough to do is Marlborough State Hospital in New Jersey. And I believe it's Mammoth County, if I'm correct. And there was 120 buildings. I forget how many acres, but these buildings were massive. And we were excited to do the photography for the buildings. And afterwards, like each day we would go there, we would fart around in the buildings. We would explore everything, go into the basements. Like, for instance, this cabinet over here came from the asylum. And we'd look behind them, knowing they were going to tear it down. And we kind of bartered with them, and they'd say, okay, yeah, you can have a cabinet, and we'll knock this off. And one of the owners wanted Christmas cards, so we were able to get a autopsy table, which now the neighbors think we're nuts. But
where's the autopsy table?
At home.
At home, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's huge. It's massive. But one of the sad things about the history of mental illness in its infancy is that if you had epilepsy, you're put in an institution in the early 1900s. If you were elderly and rich and your kids wanted your money, you went to the institution. You didn't come out. You stayed there. If you were a child who, say your mother died and your father wanted to go off and work, not wanted to, but had to, you went there. And you were deemed, as they worded it back then, retarded. And one of the most offensive things that I noticed in the blueprints is, because we have pretty much every blueprint that existed, is they had buildings called male disturbed. They had colored ward. Colored. You can't use that word. I mean, it's inappropriate today, and they used it often then, and they would separate people of color from white people, which is wrong. So, the infancy of the psychiatric institution, my point being, is that when the building would come down, it was disheartening, because they don't make antiques anymore. They don't make buildings like they do anymore. These giant boom cranes, it would take them several tries just to make a dent in that building, and it was just like, today it'll blow through any house or building. But the records went down with the building. The history went down with the building. The things that they did to people is going to be soon forgotten in today's day and age. I mean, we have a replica of Dr. Freeman's lobotomy toolkit, which...
Oh, and where is that?
It is. I shall get to. So, this is a replica of Dr. Walter Freeman's orbital lobotomy tool, in which it goes under the orbital bone here. You're awake when he does this, and it is gently tapped. Breaks through into, I'm doing it on the side because I don't actually want to give myself a lobotomy. Which,
I understand.
I love, I really might be smarter. But you would recite the alphabet as this was done, and then you'd start to slur and la la la. You're better. Remove the pick. And if I'm correct, Ken, he was, Dr. Walter Freeman was posing for a photograph, and the photographer asked him to change his angle slightly, as he had this pick beneath the orbital bone and had moved slightly, killing the patient.
Oh my God.
Didn't miss a beat. Wheeled him out, brought in a new patient. Photographs continued.
Wasn't that referred to as the ice pick technique?
Yes, it was. There's a lot of names. And in Hollywood, as we were watching one of our favorite movies, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, yes.
In the one scene, they take Jack Nicholson away, and he comes back with loud. He comes back with scars here. And they appear to be halo scars from hurting your neck, and they put the screws in. That is what Ken refers to as a Hollywood lobotomy.
Ah.
They do not really indicate, you can't see or portray it on TV as to where it actually was, which is in the orbital eye bone and then in the frontal lobe of your brain.
Now explain about these, the bats.
Okay, this is a flamed fire bat to your left, and they are from Java. This one is your basic fruit bat from Java.
Now explain about these pigs in jars. What's up with that?
Okay, so right here we have Amelia. She's a cycloptic pig. She's 1 in 16,000. She died shortly after birth due to genetic malformities such as cleft palate, deviated septum. Basically, she can't breathe and she dies. And we saved her in a jar because we find it fascinating. Belial's a symbiotic twin. He has 8 legs, as you can see. And then this little piggy here has no face, sadly.
Yeah, I can. So it died without having a face, I guess.
It did. I guess he really couldn't breathe, because I do love how their tongues stick out. It's adorable, but this one doesn't have that.
Now, what kind of formula do you use? Do you use formaldehyde?
Well, actually, we use something called formalin. And in this case, these little fellows are not in formalin, because formalin can degrade your specimen much quicker.
Right.
We use a combination of alcohol at 50% as to not totally dehydrate the specimen.
Here we have the Haunted Doll, which is around 1911. Can you explain a little bit about this?
Sure. This doll was donated by Delaware researchers of the paranormal, and when I say donated, on loan. The girl that brought it here is kind of afraid of the doll. It has 2 teeth in her head. This is her actual hair and her garments. And supposedly, she's haunted in that she does not like people and turns away from them. We do have some tape in the back to mark if she's moved. She's moved a tiny bit. I don't know if it's micro vibrations in the floor or what's going on. So this is the work of Gus Bank. He purchases vintage photographs from the early 1900s that he finds at various places, and then he adds his own creepy little twist to them. They're amazing.
You sell paraphernalia that deal with the paranormal.
Yes.
Do you believe in it?
I do know enough to know that I don't know. I'm open to the possibility, but I'm also very skeptical, and I'd probably hurt someone who made money off of the death of a loved one.
Right.
Because that's not fair.
So in the corner we have the restraint. That was used in the asylum, correct?
Yes, it's a full body restraint. And it was used to calm people down, and if not, there's a handle on it. You pick them up and you take them elsewhere, and then they'll calm down there.
Now this little thing here you created yourself, correct?
Yes, this is made from some of the things that I found in one of the asylums, and what I did is put stuff together and put lights in it and some bones, things of that nature.
And so what was that originally? I see it says Johnson thermostat.
Correct. But it wasn't. I glued that on there. That
okay.
came off of a part in the powerhouse. And that whole mechanism, there was some sort of black thing on the inside. It had something to do with the power plant inside the asylum.
Now this clock here has an interesting history. Can you illuminate us about it?
I sure can.
No pun intended.
This clock was painted, the dials, by what's known as the Radium Girls. They were pre-World War II girls who painted with radon paint, which is a derivative of radon gas. And the thing is, when they painted, they were encouraged to lick the brushes to get the beautiful, perfect lines, as seen on this wristwatch right there, which still glows. And then this still glows. But once they saw it glowed, they painted their eyes, their nails, things of that nature. And as well, their bosses came in with hazmat suits on. Not cool. They are the reason today that we have what is known as material safety data sheets.
Any final words you have for us?
Not that I can think of, other than you are a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. You?
And it was so nice to have you here, and stop by if there's anything unusual, if we do have it. But if we don't, we will get it.
Well, thank you very much, and we will be seeing you again.
I hope so. Thank you. You're great.